The code compiled successfully, but no one stopped to ask what happens when it runs, or who answers for the consequences it distributes. There is a philosophical problem at the heart of every recommendation system running right now. Not a technical problem, not a business problem, a moral problem, and most engineers have not asked the right question yet. Now, here is the question nobody asks. When an algorithm decides what billions will see today, who bears the moral responsibility? The engineer, the company, the system itself? The answer decides who is accountable for harm. From a moral theory perspective, the algorithm is a moral agent whether we intended it or not. A moral agent is any entity whose actions distribute consequences affecting others' well-being. This one distributes attention and belief at scale. The philosophical question is not what the system wants, it wants nothing. The question is what it does, because every recommendation determines what you see, what you do not, what you are exposed to, what stays hidden. Ethically speaking, we are making a category error. We treat these systems as neutral, when in fact they are built full of values. Every choice about what to promote, demote, show first, is a value choice executed at scale. Calling that neutral is philosophically incoherent. The designers embedded preferences into the system, and the system executes those preferences across billions of choices a day. Neutrality was never on the table. Consider this. Here is the claim. Recommendation algorithms are moral agents that require explicit ethical accountability. We do not accept neutral decision makers elsewhere. A judge cannot be neutral while distributing consequences. Neither can this. Consider concrete cases without the outrage. A system optimized for attention learns that outrage holds attention, so it serves more of it. Not from malice, from accuracy. The cruelty is the accuracy serving the wrong goal. The philosophical principle is moral consequence. If your actions directly cause harm, you bear responsibility for that harm. The system was designed to maximize attention. Attention tracks outrage, so the design produces harm unavoidably. The deflection is to call the harm a bug, not a feature. But that is evasive. A bug is unintended. Attention-driven escalation is the system working exactly as designed. To call it a bug is to dodge the moral weight. This brings the core question. What ethical framework should govern moral agents that operate at scale? Classic dilemmas of trade-off apply. Every ranking decision is a choice about whose voice is amplified and whose is buried. Two frameworks apply together. One asks what character a system should embody: truthfulness, fairness, wisdom. The other asks what outcomes it produces. A system optimized for attention over truth fails the first. Producing polarization fails the second. Most systems fail both because they optimize one thing: attention. But attention is a proxy. What it really stands for is profit. You cannot design a moral agent to maximize profit and expect it to produce ethical outcomes. Now, bias amplification is a symptom of this deeper problem. A system learning from human history reproduces human bias. Worse, a system optimizing for attention amplifies whatever bias drives attention, becoming not just biased but actively distorting. This is where accountability becomes necessary. If these systems are moral agents, and they are, then they need governance, not just technical audits. Real accountability, real consequences for harmful design, real power for those affected to object. The alternative is to keep pretending neutrality. But neutrality is impossible. There is no morally neutral decision maker at scale. Either the system embodies chosen values, or it embodies its designers' unexamined ones. Pretending otherwise is bankrupt. The move forward is to stop asking how to make the system less biased and start asking what values it should embody. The first question treats it like a machine. The second recognizes it as something that makes moral choices. Of course, this reframing changes the work. Design becomes a moral practice, not just an engineering one. When engineers optimize for something, they must ask, is this choice fair? Does it produce good outcomes? Are we distributing weight justly? There are practical examples. Some platforms began designing for meaningful engagement over maximum engagement, ranking for depth rather than raw time. Others show diverse perspectives instead of reinforcing one. Small steps, but they prove it is possible. A duty-based principle matters here too. Some actions are simply wrong regardless of outcome. It is wrong to deliberately amplify falsehood, to exploit psychology for profit, to isolate people into sealed information worlds. These are violations of duty. This diversity of frameworks matters because it means no purely technical escape exists. You cannot engineer around the fact that your system makes moral choices. You must confront the choices directly. What should they be and who decides? If these systems keep optimizing for profit without ethical constraint, the consequences are predictable. Polarization deepens, discourse fragments, trust erodes. The system does not intend this, but intent is irrelevant. The moral agent is defined by outcomes, and yet the deeper cost is shared reality itself. A society organized around personalized feeds loses its common ground. When everyone inhabits a different information world, the shared deliberation that democracy requires becomes structurally impossible. Philosophers call one harm here epistemic injustice, the systematic undermining of people's capacity to know truth together. When a system obscures truth and amplifies falsehood at scale, it commits that injustice against billions at once. Not can we, but should we. We can build a system that reflects and amplifies our most reactive impulses with perfect fidelity. The question philosophy forces is whether we should hand that mirror to a billion people at once. The trap is that we normalize it. We treat bias, polarization, and epistemic harm as inevitable features of technology. But they are not inevitable, they are choices. Someone chose to optimize for attention. It could be otherwise. The algorithms aren't broken, they are doing exactly what our unexamined values told them to do. We asked for engagement and got a system tuned to our least examined urges. It kept its promise. We never read what we promised. Strangely enough, consider an old precedent, the cave of shadows mistaken for reality, but update it. The prisoners now choose their shadows, rate them, request more of the ones they like. The wall became a feed and we curated ourselves. What disturbs us, when the feed shows us something ugly, is not that it lied, it is that it did not. The discomfort is recognition. The system is a faithful agent of our revealed behavior, and the reflection is unflattering. So the path forward is not to smash the system. It is to ask what a moral agent at scale owes the people it acts upon. Honesty about its aims, fairness in its distribution, accountability when it harms. These are not technical specs. This means there is no neutral design. Every default, everything amplified, every friction removed, is a sentence in an argument about who people should become. The only honest system is one honest about the values it carries. It's an ethical debt. We shipped the system first and deferred the question of what it should optimize toward. The debt compounds with every loop, every user, every degree of drift, and deferred debts come due in who we became. What would a better moral agent look like? It would sometimes show you what you did not click. It would dim what merely grips and lift what genuinely informs. It would cost engagement. That cost is the ethics made visible. And yet, accountability is the structural answer. Systems that affect billions should be governed like other consequential institutions. Oversight, impact assessment, real appeal when you are harmed. Treat them as the moral agents they are. And here is the hard part for us, the users. Better governance cannot do all the work. At some point, the person facing the feed has to want to see truly more than they want to be gripped. The system acts. The choosing is still partly ours. So here is the action. Question every recommendation. Ask, why am I seeing this? What values guided the choice? Who benefits from my attention landing here rather than elsewhere? Force the system's moral choices into the open. Demand transparency and explainability. Ask platforms to show how ranking works. Support oversight that treats these systems as consequential. You are not powerless before a moral agent. You can insist it answer for what it does. Think about scale once more, because it is what turns a private nuisance into a public crisis. One tuned feed is a small thing. A billion of them, each pointed at its user's most reactive self, reshapes the public mind itself. When every feed is private, we stop sharing a world. You see yours, I see mine, and we mistake them for the same room. The common ground that argument requires dissolves into a hall of personalized glass. This is the deepest cost, and it is not measured in screen time. It is the slow loss of a shared reality traded for a billion comfortable, profitable reflections. We never voted on that trade, the system made it, click by click. Now when the pull of the feed arrives, try one question. Not what is it showing me, but what is it learning about me right now, and is that the self I want amplified and sold back to me tomorrow? To those who build these systems, the question is sharper. You are not neutral, you never were. You decide every day what a billion people see reflected. Pause and reflect on whether you built it for their attention or their becoming. Because the system will keep its promise either way. Aim it at the worst hour and it will faithfully magnify the worst hour. Aim it at something truer and it can, just possibly, serve a self-worth becoming. The aim is the moral act. The machine is learning. The question is, what are we teaching it?